Yeah, we didn't keep him. How's it going, everyone? My name is Stu. Welcome to my Deportivo La Coruña save here on FM24, and thank you for joining me in today's video, which is part 32. It is a season review. It is a transfer special for season 4 going into season 5. And if you're excited to see how we get on today, to see the signings that we're going to make, and to see how we get the squad ready for the following season, and don't forget to leave a big like on the video for me, and don't forget to subscribe as well. It is completely free to do so. You'll make me really happy. What's not to love? So if you haven't watched the save up until this point, we are at the end of season 4. Up above, there'll be a playlist to the save. I'm going to try and actually get the playlist split into seasons at some point, but at the moment it's all in one big playlist for you to go and have a watch if you haven't watched it. I'd recommend it because this season was our most successful to date. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. We won our first big boy trophy. That big boy trophy being that one there, the Copa del Rey. We'll get on to talk about that. But let's go into the season review and see how the devil we did. We already know it was very successful. But let's have a proper look, starting with transfers. Weird signing of the season. If this is indeed the signing of the season, it's not. No, I was going to say that is a weird one. Kjaergaard at the top of the list. He was the best player, apparently, out of all of the players that we signed. But we'll start with him as his top of the list. Loan, we just paid some of his wages. 17 starts, 11 goals, 3 assists. Job's a good one. Didn't really get a position for him. It was Mazzala, winger and striker. Did great in all of them. The next player was Adam Plaziak. We signed him for a fee of £1 million for a loan fee, but he was a loan player. 26 starts, 15 sub-appearances, 17 goals, 6 assists. Did very, very well for us. The next signing we made was Sepp Vandenberg, £11 million from Lens. A permanent signing, very good signing. We actually have been looking for him for a couple of years. 43 starts, says everything, 9 goals, 3 assists. The man was a monster. Pereira da Costa was actually a free transfer. It says he came from Lens. He wasn't from Lens at all. We signed him on a free, so it didn't cost us anything. Bargain. 40 starts, 9 sub-appearances, 9 assists, 4 goals. Probably going to be a Mazzala next season just because he looks like he suits that more than he does a playmaker, or at least he suits it more than Veloso does, and Veloso suits being a playmaker as well. Miranda was the next signing. This is the guy who I really, really was looking for. We signed Vasquez. Was it Vasquez or I can't remember who we had last season. We had another left back who was kind of a junior version of this guy, but this guy was pretty solid. £11.5 million for a very, very good left back from Real Betis. 41 starts, 8 sub appearances, 7 goals. For a left back, that's pretty good going in. 11 assists as well, really good. David De Gea, signing of the season, £11 million for this man. Yes, he's 36, but 56 appearances, which I think was every game last season, says everything. Karius may have made 1 appearance, I don't know actually, but what a season he had. What a game-changing signing, because we were looking for a good goalkeeper. There he is. Hopefully he can continue being good for 1 more season, then we'll look to upgrade him, but we'll see how the summer goes. Veloso was next. We made a lot of signings. Veloso was next from Benfica, 21 years old, a £1.5 million loan fee. We're getting him in on the permanent this season, which is good. 36 starts, 10 sub-appearances, 10 goals and 3 assists. I don't think tells the whole story. He'll be playing as a playmaker next season. I think he will flourish. Joe Gomez, who we still have for this coming season as well, in a loan from Wolves. 42 starts, says everything. Wasn't there to score goals or get assists. Was there to be a brick wall, and he was a brick wall. January signing, I can't speak. January signing, I think, John Moncayola. 10 starts, 7 sub-appearances, 1 assist, did his job well. Jan Stoikers, didn't want to click on him. Another free signing, very happy with him. 11 goals and 3 assists. Started as an emergency deep line forward, ended up settling in as a Mazzala and a backup striker when needed. 28 starts, 17 sub-appearances. Absolute bargain, considering he was free. Yusufa Moukoko was a bit disappointing. 17 starts and 8 goals and 3 assists. Doesn't really tell the whole story. Lots of injuries. He's here next season though. Hopefully he can come good on that quite chunky loan fee. Arnau Comas going back this season. I thought he was alright, to be fair, when we used him, but in the end Herculano kind of overtook him a little bit. Not Herculano, Moncayola. Herculano's the next guy. He's a wonder kid. We stuck up one of the couple that we signed this season, which is kind of amazing. £3 million, absolute bargain. Only played a few times, but did play some B-team football just to start to get him into the swing of things. Bojan Ilic was the other wonder kid. £2 million. Bargains with these wonder kids. Played 11 times from the start, 11 times from the sub. Settling in still. He's only 19. He's still settling in. I'm still quite happy with him. Fermin is here this season as well. A bit of a disappointing one from him, but I think he will get more game time this season and he will do better. Hopefully, considering that loan fee. Very chunky. Nicolo Casale barely played for us, to be honest with you, but when we gave him a chance towards the end of the season, he started to look a bit better. £9 million, hopefully, we'll actually get a bit more from him. And Carlos Hernandez was a random loan wonder kid. He's not a wonder kid anymore, but he was on the next gen list again this season, so that says everything. Transfers out, Clement Lenglet, a bit of a surprising one, but raised funds for us to put into the squad. Dumbia was a good left back for us to begin with, but £3 million for him was okay. Delinovic had a low release clause. I would have loved to have kept him. Barrow was a bit of a waste of time, but we did get decent money in for him. Finally got Moar off the books as well. Diego Valares, who was with us from day one, finally left at the beginning of the season. Zardas, who was one of my favourite signings at the time, actually went as well to pastures new. Barely played for Real Betis. Southampton got Marash Kumbula for £10.5 million. Very happy with that transfer. And Luis Cruz left for £16.5 million. Would have liked to have kept Cruz, but I was really happy with that amount of money. We were asked by the board to get a top half finish. Finished in third. That's called an overachievement. Christian Furic. It's Christian. Good. It might be called Christian, to be fair. Chris Furic with 21 goals is a good record. 34,000 fans attended us most times. 98% attendance record. That is how the fixture list looked. Very nice indeed. Very good season. Champions League. Wanted to be competitive. We got to the round of 16. Got knocked out by Arsenal. We actually beat them in the home leg. Bit up and down. You'd expect that considering the quality of club we were playing against, but we did very well, I thought. Adam Plajek, our top goal scorer in that with 4 goals. I'll leave the Copa del Rey till last. Copa España got knocked out. That's fine. But the Copa del Rey, we finally went and won it. 3rd final in a row. 4th time that we did very well in it, but we finally got there. Joe Veloso, of all people, as the top goal scorer. We went and won the competition that really has been our trophy for a while. Again, we just seem to be kind of drawn towards it, which is good to see. Moments to remember, 6-0 against Malaga. That was particularly good, to be fair. Match to remember was 3-1 against Getafe. I don't really know why, but Furic and Hlaja getting a couple of goals, which is lovely to see. Goal of the season was, apparently in April, it was de Pereira da Costa. I think I remember this. I don't know whether this was on camera, but I do think I have a vague recollection of this. Kjaergaard got a disallowed goal early. I am starting to think I do remember this one. And it was a very nice goal indeed. Let's have a look at it and see if it is the one that I'm remembering. I think it might be, actually, because I think Pereira da Costa is over here. And this is some finish. How about that? I remember when I saw that thinking that is goal of the season quality. I can't remember if that was on camera or not. If it was, you might remember it. If not, there it is. Quality goal. Very, very happy with that and happy to agree with that. All the money was up this year. Our reputation still hasn't grown a bit, but our sponsorship's gone up by about £600,000. Commercial broadcast revenue, get that right, up by about 3 million or 2.5 million. Corporate hospitality up by £300,000. Competition prize money, we've got some now. And we went up by about another 500,000-ish in matchday commercial and retail. Furic, top shirt seller, absolutely. Jota next, Stoichers next, new signing for the season. De Gea next, new signing of the season. Da Costa next, new signing of the season. Definitely did well in that regard. In terms of the team of the season, De Gea in goal, Carrillo, Vandenberg, Coley and Miranda. They always swap the centre-backs around in this, and I don't really know why. Gomez, Pereira da Costa and Kjaergaard, again, they've swapped those guys around, but the full-backs are the way around, so I don't get that. Interesting to see Kjaergaard there. I think I would agree with that, actually. Furic and Hlajak out on the wings. Again, I would agree with that. Stoichers up front. Controversial, but actually, we did have a striker issue this season. I'd probably go with it. I probably would put Hlajak there, and maybe for his second half of the season contributions, Jota there. But I can't disagree with that too much. We won Spanish First Division Manager of the Month and League Manager of the Year, because that is how we roll. Furic was the fans player of the season. Young player of the season was Kjaergaard, not even our player. But those two won those two awards. Signing of the season was David De Gea, because of course we know about the goal of the season. Furic was our top goal scorer with 24 goals in all competitions. Most assists was Jota with 12. Player of the match awards was Furic with 7. Highest average rating was Furic with 7.2. Most passes completed per 90 was 65 passes for Sepp Vandenberg. Record breakers. Clean sheets by a player in the season. 19 for David De Gea across all competitions is sensational. And fastest goal, 16 seconds for Furic against Real Madrid of all clubs. And Spanish First Division top goal scorer, we did have a look at it in the last episode. Chris Furic did get that. Excellent season, all things considered. I can't really fault anything at all. Our core fan base has gone down a bit, but family and fair weather have gone up. We're becoming one of those clubs that people love to watch from the looks of things. We'll have a quick look at the visions and expectations. Let's have a check. They want to be defensively solid. They want to play counter-attacking. Set pieces, fine. Entertaining, fine. I'm okay with most of those. I'll leave the other two on. We're looking to spend the original transfer budget. I'm quite okay with that if you give me a bit more and work within the wage budget. We were a bit struggling with that. I don't know if it was last season or the season before, and the club actually bailed us out on that. And the next season, they don't care. Basically, we'll keep working towards Champions League. I'm alright with that, boys. You can keep all of that. That's not a problem. We'll give the team meeting in a moment. Training camp destination. Let's go to Portugal. Why not? Let's treat ourselves. Why the devil not? And that's everything. And then players in Team of the Week, Veloso, Vandenberg and Hlajek for the final game of the season. You want to watch that? Go in the last video. End of season team meeting. We've got nothing really to give them, to be honest with you. So let's say, I want to say that one, but we'll say that one. Yeah, that was probably the right thing to do. And that'll do. We'll send them off to the summer. Right, so we now need to start thinking about this coming season. Now, I have had a quick fiddle with this, and I've added in some of the players who we're going to be kind of looking at. I mean, it's actually reset itself, which is a little bit annoying. But I can kind of work with it a little bit. So we do need to have a look at some of the things that we need to do. Now, big issue in this position, we obviously have got one quality player in Joe Gomez. Orellana should be nowhere near it. We've got Arthur coming in from Roma. We've got Adrian Rodriguez coming back from his loan. Probably need someone to come into this position to help out. I think defence, I think, is fine. Right backs are okay. They're not spectacular, but they're absolutely fine. Maybe at some point we bring someone in over the top of Carrillo, but Trilly is homegrown at club. That counts for a lot in the Champions League. Central defence, I think those four are going to be absolutely fine. Yes, Kirkulano is a 2-star player. It is what it is. I think he'll still do fine. Remember, he is also a quality player. He'll do as like the 4th choice. We've really dealt with 3 for the majority of the season, so he'll be fine. Again, same there. And left back, we've got Ilic and Miranda. That's more than enough. Defensive midfield, I do think we need to bring someone in. Mazzala, ideally my Mazzalas are going to be Da Costa and Stoichers. Vermin can also play there, so I'm quite happy with that. We also know Veloso can do a job there as well. Over on this side, the advanced playmaker, it's going to be Veloso who's going to be the starter there. I am looking to sell Leandro Orellana. He's on the transfer list. Clubs are interested in him. But Da Costa can be a backup playmaker for Veloso as well. And we do also have Zamorano, the youngster, who could come in as well. Wing-wise, Firmin can play there. Fuchs is obviously going to be the king of this side, as he has been most of the season. Jota can play there. Firmin can play there. I've got Boedo and I've got Saul, who can play there as well. And also Carlos Hernandez, the wonder kid, who's not a wonder kid, but he's still on the next gen list because he's a wonder kid. I've still got him. Left side, pretty much the same guys. The only one who's not on there is Adam Hlajek. I'm debating bringing him in on the permanent, but his parent club, I think is Leipzig or Salzburg, I can't remember. It's one of the Red Bull teams. They are being a bit stubborn on the release clause. Forward-wise, we've got Makoko for another season. He needs to step his game up, quite frankly. Stoichers can play there. Saul can play there. Technically, Boedo can play there as well. We probably need to do something in striker if we can. But actually, the majority of the squad is fine if we can't bring anyone else in. But we do want to improve it. So we might wait until free transfers. Remember, there's a lot of players who are going to be leaving, and our wage budget is going to be low as anything. Once it's low as anything, we might be able to put a bit more money into the transfer kitty, and we might be able to look and see what we can do at that point. In terms of the remaining money we've got, the odd £7-8 million that we've got, I don't really know what to do with it. We could bring Hlajek in and strengthen on the wings, but I'm also kind of looking and thinking we've got 3 good wingers. Maybe the other spot is for like a Saul and Boedo. We need to start giving them first team game time. Maybe we do that. Maybe we bring in another... Well, we definitely need another defensive midfielder. I might prioritise it on that, to be honest. That feels sensible. The other thing we probably need to think about is goalkeeper. We've got Danny Martin coming back from his loan. Loris Karius is here. I'm probably going to try and get rid of him because he was a waste of money. I might keep Danny Martin as a backup. He did okay for half a season for us. He might be alright, to be fair. So we might hang on to him and we might use him. And we might try and loan out Alberto, because it was nice having him on the bench all season, but it's not doing him any good. He did play in the B team, though, so he did get some football, but we probably need to think about that. So really, the priority signing is a defensive midfielder. Everywhere else, I think we're okay. But if we can bring in other players, that'd be absolutely fine. So we'll prioritise defensive midfield to begin with. We'll look at what we can bring in. We're not going to be too worried because Rodriguez is a 2-star defensive midfielder. It's just he can't really play at a half-back. That's where we need to get him better, or we set him to be just a ball-winning midfielder instead in that position. We'll decide over pre-season, but pre-season I really want to throw some football into him. I want to throw some football into Boedo. I want to throw some football into a lot of the young players, Saul as well. I want to get some of those guys playing really like a lot of football. In terms of the loan players who came in last season who are leaving us, I'd love to bring Moncayola back. I'd love to bring Joe Gomez is already here actually. Moncayola is the one I'd like to bring back. Hlajek and Kjaergaard, if we can get those guys back, I'd be really happy. But if not, I'd like to get better, but I mean, Kjaergaard towards the end of the season was just doing the job for us. Like, he was just doing the job. I don't know why I played him as an advanced forward there, but apparently it works. He's just been doing the business for us. He's just an annoying player to play against from the looks of things. So maybe, I mean, he's worth a lot of money. That's the only problem. I've got a feeling he's just signed a new contract. I think he's just signed a new contract, you know. Oh, they put a release clause on him. They've put a release clause on him. And we've got an optional fee, but we can't afford that optional fee. I might try and loan him back in next season, but I've got a feeling he might be never coming back. In which case, I might look at Hlajek, because Hlajek, he isn't really wanted by Leipzig. We can afford his release clause, even though I don't really want to. But he's done a good job for us this season when we've needed him to. Relatively quick. His finishing's not brilliant. His passing's not brilliant, but he's a willing runner. I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about that one. I mean, when you look at his starts to goals ratio, it's really good. But look at the sub appearances as well. I mean, for the sake of it, let's have a look at his form. Let's have a quick look at it. I mean, bit of a barren spell there, but you can see here he was literally scoring every other game. Assist-wise, not really doing a lot. But again, a lot of these games, he was playing as a striker. And actually, his best form for us in this period here was pretty much coming as a striker. But there, substitution, goal. That's really the only example of that, which is a little bit annoying. So, maybe we do bring him in, maybe we don't. I don't know. Again, I'll have to have a think about that. But priority, I think, is defensive midfielder. Bring that in. Veloso will then become a permanent player, and then we'll look and see what we can do on free transfers, on loans, and see what the wage budget situation will do to the actual transfer budget. Because once we get that money in, hopefully we can reinvest it. Right, I will be back on the 1st of July, when hopefully we will have a bit of an action plan. We might have some more money in if we can get Orellana out the door. I'm not looking to sell anyone else, but I recognise how small a club we are. If someone came in for Vandenberg and gave me £22 million, I'd probably reject it, actually. That's a bad example. If someone came in for £19 million for Casale, I'd accept that. Not everyone's for sale, but players are for sale. Again, Furic, he's got that £50-odd million release clause. Same with Jota. Jota, I'd accept £30 million for if someone came in for him. I don't think they will, but if they did, I'd really think about it. I'd really have to think about it. Right, keep with me. I'll be back on the 1st of July, and hopefully we'll have a plan. And it is the 1st of July, and we are here, and we are going to be looking at what we have done. So we have actually made some business already. There's a couple of little bits ongoing, which I don't think are going to happen, but I've had a go. Now, this is still technically got last season's transfers on, so ignore £92 million. That is not what we've spent. We've started this season here for these four. So you knew about Veloso. We have bought him Adam Hlajek. We paid his release clause of £6.5 million from Leipzig. I mean, he had a very good season for us last year. It feels like a good transfer to make, especially with his flexibility. Remember, can play on the wing, can play as a striker. If we needed to change the system to an attacking midfielder, he could do that as well. So that's a really good one. We then also signed this guy, Tanguy Nianzou. Now, we have looked at him previously. I think if you played FM, you know about this guy. I don't know whether he actually starts the game as a wonder kid. I can't remember. But we've signed him not as a centre-back, but we're going to train him up to be a half-back, because actually, I think he'd be a decent player in that role. So he's going to be, for this season, probably our backup half-back, even though he's down as a regular starter. But going forward, once Joe Gomez leaves the club, he will then be the first player. And then, you already knew about Arthur as well. He's come in as a youngster, 4.5-star potential, more or less a wonder kid. He's come in, he'll get some experience with us, he'll grow, and then he'll either come into the first team or we will sell him on, one or the other. But those are the transfers that we've made in. Now, transfers out, we've only made the one. Leandro Orellana has left the club. He has gone to Real Betis, and he has gone for the fee of £9.5 million, which is his release clause. So we have made a profit on him, which is good to see. Most of the players that we've signed, to be fair, when we move them on, we do tend to move them on for a profit. Most of them. Longley was an example of not that. But we have done it with quite a few of them, so that's pretty good going. We have had all of the players who were on loan with us for one season go. I've had all the players who were on loan out of the club come back, which means after all of that business, we've got £33,000 in the wage budget and £6.1 million in the transfer kitty. Obviously, that's interchangeable. Now, I have put loan offers in for Kjaergaard and also Moncayola. I don't think we'll get either of them, to be honest with you. I think Kjaergaard's going to end up going in the Dortmund team or get sold, and we can't afford him. Moncayola, That one I'm not so sure about. I don't even think we need him necessarily, especially now we've signed Yanzu. I don't think it's necessary. Honestly, looking at the team, I don't know what else we need, if I'm honest. I think we've got 2 right-backs. We've got Trilly, we've got Carrillo. We've got centre-backs partnerships in Casale and Herculano, as well as Okoli and Vandenberg. The first team partnership, obviously. We've got 2 good left-backs. We've got 2 decent to good holding midfielders. We've got a really good midfield. We've decided Fermin, by the way, is going to be a playmaker for us. He's actually going to be in this position here. It's actually his best central midfield position if we look here. And, I mean, he's got the stats for it. The attributes, rather. He's got the attributes for it. I think he could be a decent player. He's only young as well. He could grow even more. But looks like he could be a bit of a superstar as Veloso's alternate. And then we've got Stoikers and Da Costa as the Mazzala. If that doesn't work, though, Fermin is just as good as a Mazzala, so we can always put him there if we need to. So we've got some good options there in the midfield. Wing-wise, we've got Jota, we've got Furic, we've now got Hojek. And then we've got a couple of players. We've got Boedo, who really needs to start getting into the first team. So I'm going to give him a solid pre-season to try and get him properly into the team. He was the 3rd best player of the recent under-20s tournaments. Was a bit of a superstar. Scored a number of goals for them as well. I mean, if I click on him and have a look at his under here, 3 games, 2 goals. Had a very good rating overall. So I am very interested in giving him a run this season, see if we can kickstart his growth. Same with Saul as well. He can play on the left as well as up front. He's obviously not a very good striker in terms of putting the ball in the back of the net. He would be, if I was going to play him, I'd probably want to play him as a deep line forward, but he's not quite as good at that. Now, he is for the league that our B team was in, because our B team are now in the league below us. They got promoted to La Liga 2 via the playoffs last season. So if he doesn't play for us, he'll be playing La Liga 2 football next season, which is pretty good going. But we've got a number of players who can play on the wing is the point. And then forward-wise, Blajak can cover there, Saul can cover there, and then we've got Makoko. We've also got a few other young players who are near the first team as well. We've got Zamorano, we've got Adrian Rodriguez, we've got Gutierrez, and we've got David. We've also got Bentancur and Rengifo, as well as Carlos Hernandez. Now, I'm going to be loaning some of the youngsters out again, or putting them into the B team, because again, B team is only playing the division below us next season. That's pretty good going. But I think Boedo's going to stay. I think we are going to give a real push to try and get him into the first team this year. I think we need to do it now or never, and if it doesn't work, we cut ties with him. And Saul can, I mean, again, Saul, I think, looking at him, I think he's going to end up being a winger. I mean, I want to try and make him a deep line forward. I think he's going to end up being a winger, maybe probably an inverted winger. Yes, his composure's not particularly great, but his crossing's not either, and his passing's a little bit better, so maybe we give him some game time this season as well. We make both of them available for the under-19s. They'll get some football there, but then they'll be on the bench for most games, and we can try and get them to fully develop. So, really, that's a long way of saying I don't think we need many bodies. I'm going to try and keep Danny Martin as a backup goalkeeper. I think that's a wise move, because he is better than... He's better than the guy who I can't remember the name. Is it Orlando? The goalkeeper we've got, the youngster, whose name has completely escaped me, who's in the B team. I'm sure... I can't remember his name at all. Alberto, I knew it was something like that. He's better than Alberto. So we need to consider that. We also need to consider the futures of... I say futures. Futures is probably a harsh way of looking at it. We need to consider what we do with these guys here, because they're all 2-star players. I think the B team is probably what they go into. Although they're first team candidates, I'm not comfortable enough in giving them the chance. Other than maybe Rengifo. Rengifo is someone I think actually I'd consider giving a chance to. He's 18, so he could play for the under-19s. So I might have him as a permanent call-up. Betancourt, I need to get more football so I can try and get the bad consistency out of him. So he'll probably stay in the B team. But yeah, we've got a really good young team. We've got a really good crop of young players. We just need to start giving them opportunities now. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I don't necessarily know what I want to do. I think the ideal thing, really, would be another striker for Makoko. I think everywhere else we can get by. Because, again, Fermin can play out wide if we need him to. Defence is completely covered. Defence is absolutely fine. And if we can get some more minutes into Herculano this season, even better. I'm genuinely really happy with what we've got. Now, if we were going to move anyone on, it'd be Casale. And we'd bring another defender in. But if we can get a decent fee for him, he's worth up to £20 million nearly. So if I can get him out... I'd be willing to do that in order to bring in someone else who maybe is, again, a bit younger, but also we could use that money to use on that and also maybe a striker. Again, as much as I don't really like using target forwards, Kjaergaard really impressed me last season. I'd be really tempted to go for him. So there's a few things I need to think about, but at the moment that's where we're at. Another bit of good news as well, which is a bit of a surprise. I asked the board to expand the stadium and they agreed to do that. Well, we're not doing that anymore. Building a new stadium. We don't know what's going to be happening, but it's going to be bigger than what we've currently got by over 10,000, which is really good going. I mean, this stadium was rebuilt in 1998. At this point in the save, that's 30 years old, I think. 1998, 2008, 2018, 2020. Yeah, 30 years old. So we probably need to do something. But it was originally built in 1944, so we desperately need that doing. I keep trying to get the youth facilities to be improved. The board are reluctant to do it. So we're still on a 3-star for that, but our recruitment is some of the best. It's first class, it is top tier. But we just need that youth facilities, but the club just don't want to invest in it. So I'm actually thinking, do we sell some of the youngsters to show the board that there's actually financial gain to have in it? I don't want to do that, but we might have to do that. Anyway, I'm going to go through pre-season. I'm going to see if I can bring anyone else into the squad. Again, I'm not targeting anyone. I'm happy with what we've got. But if we can find that one player who's going to be just the jewel in the crown, then I will do it. The other thing as well, actually, is I was having a quick look at registration. We've got a bigger maximum squad salary. I don't understand Spanish football. I don't understand how this works, but we've now got an extra £250,000 a week. I don't know whether it's based on how good we've been over the last 2 seasons or something, but all of a sudden we've got a hugely improved salary. And at the moment, with the squad finished, we've still got £300,000 left worth of gap. So we can fill our boots with that if we find a good player. Now, again, granted, we're going to struggle to find anyone who is going to be doing the business for us in terms of a permanent transfer. But, I mean, we can have a look at players who are on the loan list, who are interested for loan. We can start looking in this section, and we can start seeing, right, who's got a high wage? Let's just get them in, because it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need another playmaker, but if we did, Rafael Luiz would be someone I'd be looking at right now. So this opens up a few doors for us that were previously closed. We just need to use that power wisely now. So I'm going to go away and try and do that. We'll see if we can find some players who do want to join us on a loan. And if we happen to sell players, we happen to sell players, and we can then try and make some purchases as well. But I'm going to go away and do that, and let's see whether we can actually get anything in the squad. Again, the base of the squad, happy to go forward in season with it. It's now about finding a gem, and the free transfers haven't come through yet. We haven't seen who's available on the free. Once those come through, we'll be able to see if there's anyone who's just of that level above who can take us to that level above. Maybe even to a second place finish this season. Let's see what we can do. Well, I won't lie to you, this one kind of came out of nowhere, but Navarro, Robert Navarro, who we had not last season, but the season before, on loan from Real Sociedad, who didn't start great for us, but ended up being kind of a key player of the squad, has rejoined us on a permanent transfer. £26 million is a lot of money, but we only spent like £5 million of it up front. The rest of it's on instalments. It could go up to 41.5, depending on what successes we may or may not have. He is only a 3.5-star player going forward, but remember, in our first, in fact, no, he didn't play for us in La Liga. He played for us in La Liga too, but he did very well for us in no, because last season was our second season in La Liga. No, he did play for us in our first season of La Liga. Do you know what? There's a way that I can fact check this. It's going on here. Yeah, he did. There he is. Played for us in La Liga, and as you can see, had a decent season for us. The first half of the season he wasn't particularly good, but when we found him more in the centre of the pitch, he did start to pick up. So he has come in. Him coming in has changed things a little bit, because he is predominantly either a winger, but a winger playing as a playmaker, which I don't really like, or an attacking midfielder. I don't use an attacking midfielder, so we're going to put him in the midfield as the playmaker, because that is actually a position he likes to play in as the attacking midfielder. So my theory is this is probably going to be the next best compromise. And actually, in terms of his attributes, other than his teamwork, everything looks quite good there. So hopefully we can get him going well. And we are looking at getting an extra trait into him as well, to round the goalkeeper if he's in that position because of his poor finishing. But I think that's a really good transfer. Yes, it's a lot of money, and it's 25 years old. He's not like he's a young kid anymore, but he was solid for us and barely got any time at Sociedad once he went back there. So let's give him the opportunity. But he's in. Hopefully he's going to do a good job. I'm really excited with it. And that kind of changes things a little bit in terms of transfers. Now, I did bring in a few players on the old trial basis. There's a few of them there, and there's some names in there that you will recognise, but there's... Remember, we're in 2027, so players like Tagliafico and Nabil Fekir are not what they once were. Fekir, for example, is a 2-star player. That ain't going to happen. Neither is Tagliafico. He's 34 years old. He's decent, but he's just going to get worse and worse, and he's already not got any pace. The one I was excited about was Fabio Carvalho, formerly of Liverpool and I think of Fulham as well. Handy player to be available on a free, but I don't know where he'd fit in now. We've got Navarro. Firmino's now going to go back to being a winger because it is his now. If you click on here, it's the first position that comes up. It's his more natural position. I'm going to give him a chance there because I think he'll do a good job. I know he did when I briefly had my Coventry save on this channel. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think. I'm not 100% convinced myself, but that's what I think we're going to do. Now, fun thing as well, on the old review of the La Liga season that was, we were the biggest overachievers. Yeah, obviously. But we also had 2 of the 5 signings of the season. Adam Hlojek was the signing of the season. Technically, it's recognising the permanent transfer as last season because of when we made it. Of course, he was only a loan signing, but he was the signing of the season. Followed closely by Sepp van den Berg, which I'm really impressed by. I'm really, really happy with that. I'd love to sign Lorenzo Lucky. I've just seen him, but he's not going to be available, is he? Let's ask about his availability. I say just joined them. Disappointing, but hey-ho. I'm really, really happy that we've got 2 of our players on that list. Really happy indeed. Transfer business has just been done, has left us with basically no money left, so we will be scrimping and saving for loans, I think, at this point, because at the moment, we've only got 3 loan players in, and all of them are from last season. Gomez, Firmino, and Moukoko. Out of those 3, who's the realistic starters? Moukoko and Gomez. They're the only ones who would be starting. Firmino wouldn't, because I think our starting wingers are going to be Furic and Jota. But to be fair, if Firmino starts to play quite well, it'll end up being Firmino as well. So, I mean, our actual first strength 11, is going to be something along these lines. And even then, I don't know whether Miranda is going to be in there. But it's going to be something like that. Navarro probably won't be one of them, actually. Let's take him out and put Veloso in. It's probably going to be that. However, you might notice Carrillo has got a little thing. He's under a transfer offer for his release clause from a Saudi Arabian club, Damak. And, wow, I mean, we've offered him a new contract that's going to dramatically increase his wages. Remember, he is our captain. I'd rather not lose him. I would very much rather not lose him. If we do lose him, then we have to look at a new captain. I don't really want to make it David De Gea. It'll probably end up being a Coley, to be honest with you. I'll go with someone who's been here a bit longer rather than Ilic, because Ilic has only just been here and he's 19 years old. So it probably would end up being a Coley, but I don't really want to lose Carrillo if I can help it. Vice captain would then go to De Gea probably. That's a tricky one, but that's probably going to be the first 11 that we're going to go with into the season. I think we're pretty much done on transfer business. And to be honest, if we look at the kind of second 11 down here, so up to where Hlojek's name is here, if we have that as a starting 11, that's not a bad starting 11. Trilli and Ilic as the wing-backs, Casale and Herculano as the defenders, Nianzou at the base of the midfield. We've got Stoichkos and Navarro as a midfield. That's a midfield I never thought we'd have, but I'm really happy with it. Jota and Boedo. I think it'll be interesting to see how Boedo does this season. He's done okay in pre-season so far. We've got those 2. Then Hlojek as the striker. Admittedly, we just had a friendly against a team who are 2.5 stars. And the team drew, which is not great. They dominated it, match possession, like all that kind of stuff, shots and everything. Just couldn't get it over the line. That does worry me a bit about Hlojek as a striker. But Hlojek can do a job. And of course, again, Hlojek can always start as a inside forward. We know, in fact, he's one of the players who technically is better at that. So what we end up with is, instead of having a backup striker, we just shift everything around and we just make sure Hlojek isn't in the team as a winger if we need him to rely on as a backup striker, and we put someone like Boedo in. So that's probably what we're going to go with, unless we get a decent loaning striker, I think. Right, again, I think that's transfer business done. If anything else comes up, I will come back for it. But it might be that we won't actually see you now until the first game of the season. Speaking of which, I think, fixture-wise, we have... Have we had them released yet? We've not had them released yet. So we're still waiting for the fixtures to come out. When they do, we'll have a look at it and see who we're playing. And hopefully, we'll get a good draw of games to begin the season. I've just realised, I think we're literally a couple of clicks away from getting those fixtures, because I just realised the leaderboard thing came up. So I'm going to stay with you for a moment and just see whether we get those fixtures come through. Well, we got the Super Copper there. The boards are finally finally looking at doing the youth facilities. I am delighted with that. I mean, they've made it sound like their own idea. They did actually say it's because it's what we wanted. We finally get the youth facilities sorted. I tell you what, fair play to this football club. They didn't want to do it, but they recognise that I keep asking for it. Right, I think we're here for the season. We've spent a lot of money, by the way, just being shown up here. We've got an attendance record as well. We've got youth players who are being promoted to the the B team, I should say. It's all going very, very well. We need to do that as well. That's completely separate. Right, now, have we had the fixtures? I don't think we have had the fixtures. Here we go. So we open with Espanyol. Well, where did they finish last season? 14th. We should be winning that. That's a really, really good start to the save. Actually, where are we predicted to finish this season so far? 8th, but we know that we're punching well above our weight, so I'm not reading too much into that. Okay, well, we know where we're starting, and that is not a bad place to start. Very, very happy with that. Okay. Well, let's see whether we get any more business done before the end of the season, but if we don't, gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the squad we've got. Yeah, we didn't keep him. We did offer him a new contract, but it wasn't enough for it to stop us from losing him to Damak in what I believe was Saudi Arabia. I am gutted at that because he's been a really good servant for us since we brought him in. Remember, he's been here since the first season. 2 loans and a permanent transfer. He started with us in the 3rd tier and worked his way up to being a full-time right-back for us. Started as centre-back, of course, for us, but ended up being a full-time right-back who got over a 7 rating in his final season in La Liga. He deserves the money. He deserves everything he gets, but I'm gutted. I mean, we weren't offering him anywhere near that, and I don't know whether I'd have been able to justify it as well. But it is what it is. What it does give us, though, is the opportunity to actually go out and find someone else. So I have been looking. So at the moment, we've got about £15 million in. I've had a lot of offers going for players, but I've kind of also backed out a few of them. This hasn't just happened. It's been a little bit on the kind of upswing. So, I mean, I've been looking at players just to try and find someone in. Davide Calabria is someone I have seen, who I have been tempted by. He's on a lot of wages. He's 30 years old. He wouldn't be a full-time solution, and he's also injury-prone. But it's Davide Calabria. He is a fantastic right back, goodness me, Stu. He's a fantastic fullback, is what I'm getting at. Very, very good. He'd be a massive upgrade. He's good offensively. He's good defensively. He's playing for Barcelona at the moment, for cripe's sake. So he'd be a great option. I'd like a younger option. I'd like someone who's like Illich on the left-hand side. I'd like to find someone like that. But £15 million realistically isn't that high an amount of money. I mean, as you can see, there are quite a few players on here who I've looked at who might be potential options. I mean, this Gurgic guy who... That's an amazing hair. That's amazing hair. He just wouldn't be good enough. But I kind of want to sign him for the Barnet he's got, to be honest. I had a quick look at João Cancelo. Just the lack of pace concerns me a bit. And at 33 years old, he's just on the older side for me to fully commit to it. But what a player he is. He is sensational. I mean, could I loan him? I mean, I don't know whether I can loan him. I could. Look, I mean, the wages we'd have to pay is astronomical, but they don't want much in the way of a fee. I'm just thinking a 1-season loan of someone like João Cancelo. Would that be an option? I mean, Mert Mulder's another player who comes up. Decent defending, decent passing. His positioning's okay. He's relatively quick. He's 6 foot tall. But I feel like that's an old scout report on him, to be honest with you. I feel like that's an old scout report. I think this is going to be a very, very difficult position for us to fit, for me to be completely happy. He's going to be a bit of a tricky one. I don't quite know what we're going to do if we don't get it before the start of the season, because Trilly, he can fill in, but Carrillo started a lot of games last season because he's a better player than Trilly. Really, we need to find a better player than Carrillo now. We've got money to do it. I mean, if we look at the players who we could sign, I mean, the problem is a lot of these players are so expensive. Calabria is genuinely looking like the one at the moment. The only other one I've looked at is this guy, David Villa. He doesn't necessarily adapt to a new country well, and that would be a concern for me, but he's a wonder kid. He would be sensational. What a signing he would be, even on loan for a season, but I do worry about him just a little bit. We're looking at Costinha as well. I did look at this guy at one point when he was at Spurs. He's now at Ipswich. There's no downsides that would affect things, I think, too much. Agent demands, there's no international experience. I mean, he's a 27-year-old Portuguese player who's never played for Portugal, but he's still a decent player. Good defensively. Again, positioning's good, off the ball's okay. He's got decent crossing, he's decent on the ball. I mean, I think we might be looking at him. I mean, Wrench is the next one I'm going to have a look at, but let's have a look at this guy compared to Carrillo and just see where they're standing. I mean, technically, he's actually a lot better than Carrillo. I never realised Carrillo had such good corners, by the way. His heading's obviously not as good because he's not a central defender, where Carrillo was a central defender. His tackling's better, his marking's not quite as good. Over on this side, it's a bit more split, but Carrillo definitely has the advantage, and Carrillo has a bit more advantage on the physical side. He is a bit older than Carrillo, and he's very much slotted in as a complete kind of fullback player rather than a central defender who's kind of marauding, masquerading is the word, as a right back. Now, I'd want him to be a 3-star wing back or 3-star fullback, which concerns me. Which brings me to Davine Wrench, who I think if you played FM you're going to be aware of. He's predominantly meant to be a centre back, however, very much is also a wing back as well. Although, I mean, he's not quite the level that I think he was at any point. I mean, if we compare him to Carrillo is much better than him. Again, I would rather bring in someone who's going to be an upgrade into the team, but we are kind of at a bit of a problem in terms of we can't control it as much. I mean, I think we need to get rid of Smith off of this list. I need to update this list in general, to be honest with you. It's very out of date. We got problems in terms of this position. I mean, Riedel Baku is someone I was looking at. Very much more an attacking-minded option. Positioning isn't very good. The only problem with it is that we've got an attacking left-back. Both of our left-backs are attacking left-backs. I was potentially looking at Arnau Martinez. And I think this guy, I don't know if we've got the money to sign him. He's slow. And he's defensive, but defensive is what I'd like. And comparing him to Carrillo, which I can't find anymore, which is a bit of a frustration. If I find Carrillo this way, I think this guy could be the guy if we can get him. Okay, so as you can see, the only difference between, well, I mean, it's kind of stark actually when you look at it. Mentally, it's all about Martinez. Physically, it's all about Carrillo. Over here, a little bit more split. It's more centre-back and corner and penalty taking. Defensively, and for a full-back, like long shots and your throw-ins and your technique and your crossing, in a bit of finishing, it's all better on this side. And positioning-wise, they're very similar. His off the ball isn't quite as good, but his flair is a bit higher. Everything from decisions up to aggression is better. I think we go for Martinez. 30 to 45 million is going to be a lot of money. I think we just go for it. Let's see if we can get an offer in, and then we'll work from there. He's currently on £31,500 a week. We obviously can't afford that, so we're going to try and cheese it a little bit. So let's go in with 10 million up front, and then we'll go in with 20 million. Let's go 21 million in instalments, so it's an even 7 million per year. And then after league appearances, we'll give them another 5. No, I'll go down on that. We can always go up to sweeten it a bit. Go for 2.5, and then if we get to, I tell you what, if we win La Liga, then you'll get 5. Has he made any international appearances? He hasn't. So if he makes an international appearance, I'll give you another 2.5. £41 million. Okay. It's not out of the realm of possibility. They want a lot more. I'm going to go to... I'm going to go with 11. This is going to come down. I'm happy with that to be 3. I'm happy with that to be 3. Happy with that to be 5. And I'll also give you this. Okay. Don't want a per league appearance. That isn't going to happen. I'm not overly happy with that being at that. I want to go that down to that. I'm going to put that back down. I'm going to keep that at that. I'm going to put that up by 1. Put that up to 20. Let's see what that goes. Haven't given an immediate answer. So we're going to have to put in another offer. I mean, this is probably the best fullback we've found, who's young, who's not inconsistent, who's not afraid of big games. I think this is going to be the guy. And yes, we're spending an awful lot of money on him, but I do think it will be worth it. I am also going to add in Champions League. If we can get to the semi-final, I'll give you another $1 million. And we'll make the offer. I will see what happens. I'll bring you back for that one. Fingers crossed we could get him over the door, because I think he would be the best option in terms of a long-term solution to replacing Carrillo. I think he's just going to be that little bit better. Again, if I find Carrillo, hopefully he's on this list now, he is. We just go to this screen, we can see they're very similar players. Martinez is a little bit narrower around here, but he jumps up in mental, jumps up in vision, so he's a bit more of an attacking-minded one than Carrillo was. Defensive-wise, he's exactly the same. He's just not quite as quick. But he is a year younger, so maybe he'll grow a bit more. Who knows? Let's see what happens. Well, a lot of money in the grand scheme of things it may have cost us, but now Martinez is in 24-year-old full-back from Girona. Played over 200 times for them. Remember, Carrillo had played over 100 times for us. We have now got his replacement in. He is not necessarily the best attacking fullback in the world. Crossing's not half bad though. He's got decent off the ball, but his positioning, his teamwork, his marking, his tackling, the defensive side of things is very much why we signed him. He fits in perfectly with what Carrillo was doing as the supporting fullback. £11 million was spent up front. £38 million with a potential cost of 54 will be something we'll have to deal with at some point, but that I think is a bit... I'm going to go as far as say a superstar signing, but it's certainly a very good signing. He comes into the squad as one of, not the, but one of the best players. One of the best 5, actually. Furic is not even the best player at the moment. Vandenberg is. So that's something to bear in mind. Speaking of Vandenberg, we've not had any substantial offers in for him. We've had 1 or 2. Furic, we've had no offers in for. Same with Jota as well, despite, well, probably because of their high-valued release clauses. And I've got no intention of letting them go. So I'm pretty happy with that. In terms of the squad now, in terms of financial, we are over the wage budget. That is a bit of a problem, so we probably do need to look at moving someone on. Now, Anderson might be on his way out, and he might be on his way out for £10 million. We have offered him a new contract with a slightly higher release clause, but it's not that much higher. I'm debating letting him go. Although he's a 5-star player, as a striker, I worry about him, and as a winger, I don't think he's all that as well. Basically, all he can do is run with the ball at his feet comfortably. Can't do anything with it. He's almost like... he used to play for Villa and Wolverhampton. Really quick one. It's Traore. He's like him. Like, he can just run and that's it. So, Adama Traore, that's who it is. That's all he can really do. So, I'm a little bit like, actually, do we just let him go? Because he's got multiple clubs in for him. The biggest one being Juventus. But he can also... Do you know what? I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm withdrawing his contract offer. Let's let him go. Let's let him leave the club. Let's get £10 million in, and that solves everything. And then we've generated some funds from a youth player, which, although it isn't one of our actual objectives for the save, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for us to actually do, because it shows that our youth academy, even before the facility improvement the board have finally agreed to, it shows that there's merit in it. It shows that it does quite well, and that it does develop some potential future stars. That is, by the way, our biggest transfer ever. We've broken that a couple of times in the transfer window, which I am not sorry about. So, yeah, I think that might be the thing to do to balance that out. And it also gives us a little bit more spensies maybe to get 1 or 2 cover loan players in. I am committing to Boedo playing this season in the first team. He actually scored a couple of goals against... I'm not doing that. No, we're ignoring that, sorry. It actually... Yeah, he did well against Celtic, scored a couple of goals against them in a friendly, so that was pretty good going. Right, I'm going to go away, get the squad sorted for the coming season. Hopefully we're within that. If we're not, then, well, that could be a problem. And then we'll see whether Wanderson actually does leave and we do get that £10 million in. If he doesn't, I'm going to look a little bit silly for cancelling that contract. Just the one final sign to bring you before we begin the season. Kasper Dolberg has joined us as another backup striker, just because Makoko is injury prone and also Hlajek is a little bit patchy in terms of being a backup striker. He can also act as a backup winger as well. Dolberg can do that as well. It just feels like a safe option just to bring someone else in. In terms of his wages, yeah, we're paying a lot. We're paying his full wages. He's probably the most expensive player we've got at the club in terms of wages. In fact, we can double check that. Let's go on this screen and have a quick check. Yeah, he is earning the most out of any player. But you can see our wages for a lot of our players have finally started to kind of grow with what you'd expect for La Liga. And we've got a lot more players who are on a lot more money, although I am expecting quite a few of them are going to start asking for more at different points, and we'll have to contend with that when it happens. But we are at the first game of the season, and this is what the squad is looking like. I'm actually pretty happy with what we've got. We've obviously got a few injuries to contend with. Furic is on his way back. Martinez is out for a couple of weeks, more or less, and Saul is also out for a little while as well. But I'm really happy with the 11 that we've got. I mean, if we turned it into our strongest 11, obviously we would have Martinez in there, and we would also have Furic in there as well. So it would end up looking something along those lines. We probably have Bakoko starting as well. It'd be along those lines, and I'm really happy with that 11. Do I think it's much stronger than last season's 11? I don't know. I think right back, I think we've massively upgraded. I didn't even think we needed to, but it has massively upgraded. I think if Firmino can get into some proper form, which he just struggled to last season, I think he could be pretty good. Da Costa, obviously, here at the moment, I'm not 100% sure if we go with that. I think Stoichers has been better in pre-season, so we might start with Stoichers, and I think that midfield could really blossom this year. I think we've just made little adjustments here and there, like a better right back. We've gone with a better kind of combination of the midfielders we've already had. The forward line is fine. We were scoring goals for fun last season, so I don't necessarily think we need to worry about that. I just think we've got a better squad, because you look at the alternates that we've got. We've got a better backup goalkeeper. Admittedly, last season that was my fault. Illich is a very good cover at left back. Trilly's a little bit of a weak spot. However, to be fair, he is a homegrown at club player. I think it's a necessity to have him, but he's a decent player. Defence-wise, we're fine. We've got Casale and we've got Herculano, who will both do a good job for us. We've then got Nyanzu as a backup half-back, when I think he will turn into a fantastic half-back. He's already a very, very good central defender. Doesn't work out. We've got a good central defender. Midfield options, I think, are great. I think getting Navarro in was a masterstroke. I think I'm really, really, really happy with that, because he did play very well for us. But having him, along with Da Costa as the alternate midfield pairing, Furic, Jota, Firmino and Boedo, I think, are going to be fine. Okay, Boedo is only a 2-star player. He's technically only 2 leagues below us in terms of quality, but I actually think he's much better than that, and he's shown that in pre-season, so I've got no problem with having him come in some games. And then the forward line, I think, is the strongest that we've had in terms of depth. We've got Makoko, we've got Hlajek, and we've got Dolberg, and 2 of those 3 can play across the front line as well. I think depth-wise, it's the best that we've had. So what does that mean for us going forward? Well, I would still like to get 1 or 2 cover loan players in. We've got a little bit of money left to do, so I've got no offers on the go at the moment. I'm not actually lie, actually. I've got Bacetic from Liverpool on the go at the moment, so we might be bringing him in as a backup defender, defensive midfielder, possibly right back. He'd cover a lot of positions for us. We've already got a cover right back of sorts anyway, but I think in the form of Van der Merg, he can play there, but this guy would just give us a little bit more cover in all of those positions. I just feel like it doesn't hurt to have that extra cover, and I think once he's in, I don't think we need to do anything at that point. I think we're good, because again, with the personnel that we've got everything kind of covered. I do almost think a little bit if we got another left back in, it would be a good idea, but I don't really want to get another player in who can only play in one position. I really want to make sure that we've got multiple positions covered, and he can literally cover the spine of the team, Bacetic. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I think that's where we're going to leave today's video. The next video will obviously be the first 2 games of the season. It will be Espanyol and Athletic Bilbao. The Bilbao game will be the challenge in that one. Just to quickly cover as well, that's what our pre-season looked like. Obviously, we played 1 or 2 more games as well. Yeah, we just couldn't get those in on the screen. They're technically classed as last season. This one classes as both on the 10th, by the way. But yeah, we started things really well. Had a draw there, which is a bit random. Had a 7-0 there, and that's where we can see on this screen. And then the only 2 teams we lost against were Benfica and Liverpool. I think I've already talked about this. We played mainly rotated sides in both of them. If we played our first teams, we could have competed. We probably could have got a draw, if not beat Benfica, and we could have challenged Liverpool for a draw as well. But other than that, we've had a very good pre-season. Smashed Celtic, beat Sparta Prague. I'm really happy with what we've done here, and I think we're set for the season. I mean, if you look at our fitness as well, the majority of the players, other than the ones who are injured, on good levels of fitness, on good levels of sharpness. Yes, there's a bit of a heavy match workload because we've really been pushing them, but I'm really happy with how things have gone. So, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video for Espanyol. If you've enjoyed today's one, don't forget to leave a big like on there for me, and don't forget to subscribe as well. It is completely free to do so, and you'll make me a very happy chap. I've been Stu, you guys have been awesome, and I will see you in the next one for the opening of Season 5. Cheers.